ki khubor na ka shlem jong nong san Hima.
Hadin bami ke jing persya ya ke jing tmu jong sarkar ban IT ya ki kato kadi ke jaka sam boarding jong ka MEECL sa ki company Shimet Myntri rangba ka jela Conrad sangma ne ka sngi ula pensyai pajba ba ka ne ka dei tang ka jing ekren pat kampat don ka no ke jing soi sekolah shu ula ongro ba na ka liang jong ka tanat MEECL bat Myntri ka tanat boarding James sangma ki persya ya ka ni ka jing ai jing mut Henry katanat finance jong ke sorkar jela kapan pau ya ke jing e banchu siulut dak sorkar ya kiram kisha jong ka MEECL Henry dak ba IT hagi company Shimet ka MEECL kan la ban penmi pisa kendiat kensoi bat kanam up na ke sorkar nakaliang menteri rangba ulaong baya kani nakaliang jong ka Kynhun menteri kan saya Shong Pyrkhat Biang kumno banle hagi ni ki kendiat sngi banwan.
We had a large amount of dues from NIPCO and NTPC and other agencies which have built up in the last many years. And that amount came up along with the charges, such charges to approximately 1,300 crores plus. Now just to give a comparative analysis to everyone, the second highest state in terms of NTPC, Meghalaya owed about 500 crores to NTPC. The second highest state was Manipur, which was 70 crores. And all the other states in the northeast were below that. Whereas Meghalaya's total dues, along with surcharges, was 1,340 crores. So we had an exceptionally high outstanding to many companies outside, generation companies. Therefore, the government decided that we'll take the Atmanirbhar loan. Now, when we took the Atmanirbhar loan, the REC released the first tranche to us of the 50% and the PFC. For the second tranche, looking at the exceptionally high amount that is due to these different companies and the fact that the loan amount is going to be large, the REC and the PFC required the government of Meghalaya to give a guarantee and put a budgetary provision for the repayment for MECL in our budget. Which means that if MECL is not in a position to repay the interest and the principal amount every month, then REC will be able to deduct that amount from our taxes directly from RBI. Now, REC wanted Meghalaya government to do the entire 100% of the repayment to be put in the budgetary proposal and put into the finance head so that the payments would be made to REC. Also, I would like to clarify that why we went for this kind of a Atmanirbhar loan is because if we did not, there would be a high risk of our powers being cut all the time, which is a very troublesome aspect for all of us. So therefore, we decided that once and for all, we will repay and we'll be able to ensure that the power is stable for us. Number two reason why we went for this is because the surcharges that we pay to NTPC and NIPCO are at 18%. And today, if we take this loan, it is at half the rate, which is 9.5%. So therefore, even from the interest point of view, it made much bigger sense and savings for us to go for this rather than pay the surcharges of 18% to NIPCO and to others and NTPC. So that is why we went for the loan. Now, what is the situation we face today? Is that government, or the REC, has made that condition mandatory. The finance department strongly felt that we cannot afford to pay the entire amount of the loan repayment, which will be close to 120 crores for the first 3 years and will jump to 300 crores because the principal amount will come in after the 3 years. So therefore, finance department objected to this point. We talked to REC and said, what is the option that we have? And then the REC said that there are a lot of the circles within MECL which are having AT&C losses ranging from anything between 30% to 72% AT&C losses. Therefore, REC said, if you cannot give us the entire budgetary provision or guarantee the entire loan amount to the state finances, then a certain percentage of the distribution franchisees may be outsourced to the REC so that they will run and manage it. The finance department, the MECL and the power department objected to the DF. And they have said that the government of Meghalaya should guarantee the entire amount of 100% and put in the budgetary provision. That's a large amount. As I said, for the whole year, for 10 years, the amount will come up to 2,000 crores plus. Finance department felt that we need to ensure that the MECL also improves its overall efficiency. For many years, many circles have been running at 70%, 50%, 30% AT&C losses. So therefore, while we take this loan, while the state government is supporting MECL, at least 25% of the pressure must be on MECL. Meghalaya government have to bail out MECL every time. And why can't we have a system where we improve the overall efficiency of MECL? Therefore, with that objective in mind, Finance Department suggested that 75% of the interest and the loan amount will be guaranteed by the state government, and if there's a default, state government will pay. But at least 25% of that pressure must be taken by the MECL in the form of their distribution franchises. So that was the background of how the distribution franchises came in. So it's a choice between improving the efficiency and the finance department and state government taking the entire burden of the loan that we have to pay. Now I can give you details of the numbers, but they're too much to grasp. But roughly, if the 25% of the distribution franchisee does not go to REC, that will put another 560 crores of burden on the state government. So therefore, by doing this 25%, we are able to not only improve the overall revenue collection and overall efficiency, but we are also able to save money in terms of the amount that the state government will have to give. Now, the second part is that while this happens, there is no question of any kind of people being removed from MECL. There is no question of any kind of laying off. There's no question of anybody losing a job. There will only be a complete revamp of the overall staff in the thing so that we can overall improve the efficiency and increase the number of manpower of people wherever the manpower is less. So there will be no question of any layoffs in this. Franchises in the long run. So this is the background of this, where, as you said correctly, this is only a management that has been given to them. But in this management, they will also be investing because they have to guarantee a certain revenue to the state. It's not that we give it to them for free. But if we give it to them, they will have to guarantee a minimum revenue to the state. Over and above that will be their profit. But this revenue which they guarantee to us will be much higher than the collection that we are doing right now as a department. So this is the crux of the matter. This has come to the cabinet, and the cabinet will now review this entire aspect, and we will take a decision in the next 1 week whether it will be appropriate for the state government to take the entire burden of the loan and pay and bail out MECL all the time, which we've been doing quite a number of times, or do we look at a system where we allow some professionalism coming in without harming the structure of MECL, without harming the employees, but allowing an overall system to come in where we have some kind of professional aspect coming in. So therefore, this is a critical issue. The cabinet has not decided on which way to go. We will spend the next 4-5 days looking at all the options that are there, and only then, once we take all the stakeholders on board, once we take all the different organizations, the engineers and other officials on board, discuss with them, if we can find a way to move forward in which we are able to improve the efficiency and yet not allow the DF, we'll be happy to move forward in that line also. But if we see that, as I said, the question is about 560 crores of revenue that the government of Meghalaya will have to give additionally to bail out MECL. So this is the long story in short, but to also conclude in this is that number one, this matter has now come to the cabinet. There is no agreement that has been signed. There is no final decision that has been taken. That's number one. So we are still examining the pros and cons on how to move forward. Number two, this agreement or this discussion, if it were to go forward, is only a management contract. It's not about giving out any kind of lease or access to anybody, which, as I said again, no decision has been made. It is still pending with the state government. Number three, initially when this discussion started, MECL and the power department and the power minister has been completely against going for this DF. MECL does not want to give any of its circles. Power department and power minister, they don't want to give any of the circles for distribution franchisee. They want to run it themselves. The reason finance department has put this condition on them is how long will the Meghalaya government keep bailing them out? If we are going to bail them out for the 1,600 crores for the 75% which state government will have to pay, at least 25% of that pressure MECL must also take, must realize that they are also equal partners in this, and they must also improve their overall functioning. So this is where we are right now, and as I said, this is being done with a positive intention to improve the efficiency and revenue collection, and we're looking at all the options. So we will take a call by next week, but this is the background of this entire process right now. And today, most of the ministers have given their opinions, and the power minister also has given his opinion, saying that he himself and the department are not for it, but finance is still sticking to the point that some kind of responsibility must be taken by the power department. Therefore, by next week, we will be taking a call on what would be the best way to move forward in this. And we'll have asked the power department to give all the options that are available for the general public to know that it's not going to be something that we are rushing into. We are going to examine it properly. We're going to look into all the aspects, and then only we'll be going ahead with the decision. And that's why Cabinet has sat today, and Cabinet will sit again next week on Wednesday to take a final call on this. There are two aspects when it comes to the circles. One aspect is regarding the 25%. Now this 25% is determined on the basis of the amount of millions of units that are infused or input into the power system. So the 25% should be the 25% of the entire input that the MECL does from a generation company. So for example, if we are inputting 1,000 million units, then 250 million units has to be given as a distribution franchisee. Now when you look at those numbers, the only way to match and come to 250 was only by looking at certain circles. So not all were coming in. Somewhere we're mixing it, it was coming to 150. Somewhere mixing it, we're coming to 200. Somewhere we're mixing it, it's coming up to 300. So we had to look at the permutation combinations of which circles will be able to give us that 250 amount. So that was one part that or one factor that we had to consider while making a decision. That's number one. Number two, we also had to look at the factor of where the losses are. So, for example, a place like Shillong city and a place like Ribhoi. Now, these places are the highest earning revenue generation circles, and there are also circles where the AT&C losses are 13% and 15%, very low. So there is no question of giving it to them because there's no question of improving anything. It's already improved, it's already doing very well, and it's the highest earning circles. So obviously, based on that, we will not and cannot give, even if we decide, which we have not decided yet, even if we decide to go for a distribution franchisee, it cannot be these two circles because they are our best performing circles. And there is no need to give it to them because there's no improvement in it. Then comes to the question of other circles. So therefore, based on the permutation combinations, there are certain districts or certain circles which are at 70% AT&C losses, certain at 30%. So these 30% to 40% AT&C losses, where I think that's where we feel a distribution franchisee can come in and improve and give some kind of overall revenue growth in the revenue of MECL and for their revenues also. So this point being made that the best circles are being given is completely wrong. In fact, it's the challenging circles which are being looked into. But since there is a restriction or there's a certain constraint in terms of the 25% which we have to meet, so the permutation combination of that is limited. So we have to see which ones we can do. Again, no decision has been made. Discussions are being done on what will be the best way to move forward. And therefore, we have, as I said, met as a cabinet, and a presentation has been given, and the cabinet colleagues felt that let us sit on Wednesday, let us absorb these numbers, because what I told you just now is just 15%, 20% of all the data that was shown to the ministers, and they have understood the complexity of the situation. They've understood that both have got decisions have got plus and minus, and therefore we need to really carefully think about it and then decide on how to move forward. But one thing is clear, as I said, which I want to again repeat myself, is that there is no question of handing over any assets. There is no question of employees being affected. It's only purely a question of whether state government will bail out MECL 100%, or we will give some responsibility to them to improve themselves also. That's really the crux of the question.